Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Oakwalker. I am the Oakwalker guy, and this is on one of these two directions is my partner Frank Stronghorse Caldwell. We're here to do another episode number 43 of Earth Medicine for the Soul. Do you have anything you want to kick in the beginning, or do you want to just like dive into this?
No, I think we'll just dive into it. I mean, the way I will kind of give a little introduction here is the way we kind of determine what our subjects are is we sort of pay attention to what's going on around us, before we lead up. So it's sort of like we look for spirit to kind of guide us. And both Oakwalker and I really have sort of been inundated with insight into the shift, that's coming up and what it looks like and what it's going to feel like and what people need to prepare themselves for. So, is that you agree with that, Oak? Is that kind of what we're doing?
Yeah, I think we are. We're going to talk about a couple of stories that I want to throw in, and then I want to talk about a little bit about how our it's going to be a shift in perception, a perceptual shift, if you will, that can be quite dynamic and very strange. So, just to go in, let me tell you about. First of all, I think I'll start with the story that I tell a lot, and I think I've told it on the podcast before, about how I got uh, my name Oakwalker. I was given my name Oakwalker, and I tell the story of having had a lot of dreams about a half-breed Indian, and in the stories I didn't know what his name was, and then I went to Temecula one day, and the trees started addressing me by that name Oakwalker as if I was back again from the time when those dreams took place, which was when Temecula was just basically a stage stop. But what I don't talk about very much, or what doesn't get emphasized very much about that day, was that when I started that hour drive up to Temecula from San Diego, I left in time to get there on time. And I spent that entire drive trying to shift my awareness into a state of higher being or a higher vibrational being. And I wanted to see, this is a reckless experiment. I wanted to see if I could do that and still drive. Uh, Fortunately, I could. Um, but but when I got there an hour early. Okay, so I had just stopped time for an hour while transporting myself from San Diego to Temecula, and or some kind of time shift happened because when I got there, I was very, very early, and that shouldn't have happened based on when I left and when I was expecting to arrive. So that's the kind of reality shift that I think that we're going to see a lot more of. We're going to notice that the things that used to be very, 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 well, three varies, solid for us, uh, indisputable, or the physical laws that we thought could never, ever be violated. We're going to start noticing that those are kind of rubber now. They're getting a lot more rubber. And just to and and this is why my daughter called me last night, who was in the process of buying a new car. So um, she's trying to get to her business appointment. She's had to suspend the negotiations for her new car and stop the deal and say, I really have to go to this meeting and I need you to, you will meet these terms or I'm not coming back, basically, but I have to go to this meeting. So she went and got in her car. She's driving down the freeway in San Diego County and she gets just completely stuck in traffic, just totally bogged down, which is not at all unusual in San Diego anymore. Actually, it never has been in my experience ever. And suddenly she looked around and she was 15 miles away and the traffic jam was gone and she was driving freely into her appointment with no obstruction. She went back to a place that she had left 15 minutes ago or many minutes ago where the traffic jam wasn't happening anymore. In an instant, she just turned around and she was like, boom, I'm back on Interstate 8 again. And then she drove straight to her appointment. She was on the phone with me all the time. She was driving through this no longer traffic jam that just kind of magically and fundamentally disappeared for her. And there we have it again. The time zones, I'm sorry, the how fixed we are in time is going to start becoming a little bit less uh, solid, if you will. And the magic is going to start really, really coming forth. And you're going to start finding yourselves in situations that are truly unusual and miraculous and impossible to explain. And this is part of that dimensional shift because you can look at any sci-fi story and see that when a dimensional shift happens, everybody's going, what the what was that, you know? And it's because we seem to have suddenly done some kind of miracle. You know, a miracle happened, um, like Jesus could do in his miracle healings and stuff in the New Testament. Things like that are going to start becoming more frequent, I should say. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I'll back up that story. I don't know if it's this particular section of California or not, but in Joshua Tree, which I think is pretty close to Temecula,
Hmm.
um, I had the same experience. I had was out doing a ceremony to all night or early in the morning. I finished. I completed what I needed to do, and so I was walking back to camp, and it in my mind it took me about 15 minutes to get back to my tent. And I remember passing a sign on the side of the road that said campground, uh, 5 miles or something like that,
Hmm.
and or campground like ahead or something. And so I got to my tent, and I went to bed and everything. Well, the next day we had to go into town for something, and so it was a load of us, and we went into town, and we were coming back, and I saw that sign, and I said, "Oh, the campground's right around the corner." Well, 30 minutes later, driving a car, we ended up in our camp, and I was like, "How can it be, man? There's no way I could have walked that in 15 minutes. I mean,
Hmm.
just no way, And
Hmm.
so I was transported. So here's the thing about in fifth dimension, time moves. It's like going, if you're in the midway and you're standing around looking at one of those midway rides, and then you get on the midway ride and it totally, that's kind of what fifth dimension's like, but on a very softer, more kinder level. Because I could never get on those rides, man. I thought, what idiot pays to do that? you know, and I think that I agree with you, but I think this progression is this merging is going to be very slow. And the thing that I've realized over the past, I guess, couple of weeks, it's when you have an intention, when you set an intention, and you're relying on your faith. You have faith in something, and so you're invested in something occurring based on what your heart space really wants to happen. Typically, it could happen, but there would be no time associated with it. And it may happen a month later, it may happen years later, whatever. It's hard to say. But now it's gonna start happening instantaneously.
Yeah.
Because what I think is there's a universal law called the 0 to 9 law, and it says that any energy expression, once it gets out to the ninth circumference, it immediately comes back to you. And you can prove this by going out and finding a puddle somewhere and you drop a pebble in the middle of it and count the circles. And when it gets to the ninth circle, it immediately starts coming back into the center. And
Hmm.
and so that's so your energy expression is returned to you times 10. Well, if you amp that up, which I think is happening to, I don't know, 100 maybe, that then it becomes instantaneous,
Uh-huh.
and so what I've heard is people they're talking about there's going to be two worlds. There's going to be a world for the people who understand their relationship to the earth, how important the earth is, that they want to love the earth, they want to participate with the magic that the earth gives them. They want to participate with their fellow man, they want peace,
Hmm.
they want balance, they want ecological purity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you got the other side is going to be the guys that want power and control,
Uh-huh.
yada yada.
Right.
So those each party to each on both sides of that equation are going to get their energy returned back to them immediately and in spades. And so, that's going to create two worlds. You're going to have the world that is going to continue to amplify everything that you put out instantaneously. And so it's up to you to determine whether or not you want to step into it. And so the question becomes,
Hmm. You're kind of breaking up a little bit, but
I've had more and more people contact me and they say, I don't feel any shift.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't feel anything going on. And he said,
yeah,
well, have you chosen to step into it yet? And they're like, what do you mean?
yeah.
And so I think that's what we need to talk about in this session is like, what does it mean for you to choose to step into the new world?
Bingo. Because so my mind just went into a complete can of worms. Um, I can talk endlessly about how defensive I've been my entire life and why it was so difficult for me to get to a place where I was willing to volunteer to see the universe differently, but that there is always there has to be some kind of surrender. If you're coming from a place of absolute defensiveness and like, "Pfft, I'm not going to look like a fool, I'm not going to believe in magic. Only idiots believe in magic." That is the very defensiveness that's going to make sure that you never, ever have a magical experience, right? You're leading with your ego. You're afraid that you're going to be uh, made fun of or seen by the rest of the world as lesser. And that's a key thing because we can't reach our authentic selves as long as we're concerned about what other people are thinking about us. We have to come to that point of willingness. And now it's not about surrender anymore. Now it's about willingness. Am I willing to give up all the bullshit that I've been putting out there and pretending to be for my entire life? And am I willing to go ahead and say things like, wow, that would be interesting. What if we try that? What if we allow that to overcome us and to overwhelm us? Um, that's a feeling that I've had during my epiphanies have always been a kind of an overwhelming, like, holy shit, what was that? You know? But that can't
There,
happen
so I'm
until
gonna
I'm willing
okay.
to open myself to the process. Am I
Okay.
frozen? Ah, there you're back. we're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, yeah. Let me kind of amplify what you're saying there. I think that the breaking point there is, am I in a state of performance based on what I think other people want to see out of me?
Yeah, right on.
Or am I in a state of performance for what I feel is really true for myself, And that's really that's the break point. The break point is, am I gonna, you can't be in your authentic self if
Oh, yeah. And be a faker.
you're talking about whatever peer group you want to associate with. And yeah, and there's the I think I talked, I put a thing on Substack, and I probably told a story a little bit about, when I got invited to this breakfast with a bunch of older white guys who were all Trump
Mm.
supporters, and you asked me, well, what are they like? And I said, well, every one of them are starving for personal value. They want to get
Yeah,
validated,
yeah, yeah.
they want to be acknowledged, and they'll do anything, man, and the way that they've been used to getting that is through mimicking with other people and having other people validate them because those people are looking for the same thing.
Right. Becomes
They're
a
looking
little
for the same
club.
value measure, so they're all, it's like we used to talk about Austin about, yeah, all the healers are running around healing one another,
Yeah.
and everybody else is like, I don't know anything about that stuff, but
Right.
you know, your authentic self really comes down to when you decide to, all right, I'm going to follow my instincts. I'm going to follow my own beliefs, and I'm not going to mimic anybody else's, and I want to stop performing for other people,
Hmm.
and I'm going to be true to myself.
And then,
Big time amplified to where, you'll have instant response to you at some point. I'm not going to say that's going to happen immediately. You're not going to be able to go out overnight and go, I'm going to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Wow, it really worked. That's not,
yeah.
it's not going to be like that. But over time, I mean, our elders used to constantly say, we can't just flip a switch and bring the light in totally and completely 100%. Everybody just go completely off the rocker. They couldn't
Provided they
handle
could
it.
see it at all.
Yeah, so they said it's gonna come in smoothly and softly and gently and progressively. And so, as you align yourself with that, you're gonna start seeing an accumulative change in yourself that starts
Mm.
in who you are and what you are and what you can do. I think that's going to be the signature really to the being in the new world.
Yeah, I believe you're right. So where do I want to, where would I go with that? What I think I want to talk about that is that we need to become a species of people who are more allowing. We've had a long history of being extremely, for our survival's sake, we've been very, very afraid of what the world is going to do to us. And I'm seeing that there's a great difference between people who are constantly afraid all the time and a lot of the people who are supporting the authoritarianism and the kind of lower vibrational control issues that are amplifying around the planet right now. There are people who constantly think that everybody is against them and everybody wants to take something away from them, and that for them to be considered a smart person, that they have to make sure that they're constantly and always on the defensive. That has to go away. We cannot maintain this kind of mindset while they're not compatible, while allowing greater truths and greater illumination and even uh, metaphysical shifting, right? To be happening, like time warps and stuff like that. Portals where, you walk into another room and that room isn't quite the same anymore. It's a slightly different room. You've gone through a portal into a sense of greater awareness and consciousness. And as we progress through this, we're going to understand that it's a place of greater love, right? So you can't have tremendous fear being compatible with the awareness of greater love, right? And that's where we're going to get that two worlds attitude or perception coming on very strongly, because there are going to be people who simply cannot see the light because they're afraid to look. They're terrified
Absolutely.
to look
No,
for the light. And
absolutely.
and so that's what you and I are here to do, is to make it okay to relax a little bit and let the light shine, let it shine, allow the magic to happen, because it's going to unravel all of the little things that are keeping you tight and wound up in the world. That's the best way I can put
Well,
that.
also I think we need to try to emphasize that this is about discovering on a very personal and intimate level your soul.
Yes.
This isn't about um, trying to mimic a new world order or a relationship with your own soul. Because that is
You
the
said
core.
relationship with your own soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your core essence of
Mhm.
the authentic self.
Yeah, it's a core purpose too.
Yeah, and without that, you're just performing. I mean, you are, and
Yeah.
so people that they, and I think justifiably so. People feel like, well, if I'm not performing, what the hell am I going to do? I mean, what?
Uh-huh.
And I sympathize with that. The very first ceremony in our path that you do is called a night on the mountain of fear, and it is specifically designed to throw you right into the fire of confronting your own fears. And
Mm.
people have to walk out into the desert, and every one of them go, "Oh my God, what about the rattlesnakes?" And I go, "Don't worry about the rattlesnakes. They know who you are. They're not going to mess with you." Excuse me? Yeah. So I mean, they
Mm.
face your fears and overcome your fears. You're in performance mode, man. You are.
Yeah.
You're in performance mode.
We do that a little different. We don't really, I mean, there's a lot of facing fears in our work, but the first thing we do is go out and lay stomach down on the earth and try to just blend in with it, try to becoming one with it, so that you understand that the earth is a safe place. And then we go to do the fears, you know.
That's a really good idea. I mean, and that's a good. I mean, and right there's the number one thing we ought to tell people to do.
Uh-huh.
I mean, people that want to learn how to become part of the new world, start by going out and laying on the ground, man.
Yeah.
And starting to feel Mother Earth. I remember one time I was doing that. I was laying out, and it was spring, and I started listening and tuning into the insects and to the birds, and I thought they're waking up the plant world. And they were.
Oh.
They were telling the plant world it was time to wake up because it's spring.
Hmm.
And it was just when I made that connection, I mean, I can't tell you the waves of love that just flowed over my body, because
Uh-huh.
I was a part of that movement. I once I not understood it and acknowledged it,
Right.
and then gave it the respect it ought to have, it became a part of me. And so I was
Hmm.
included in that movement
Exactly.
through that conscious
Yeah, and then you become part of the river of
Amazing, man. I mean,
consciousness.
I laid there and I just thought, oh my God, I can't even believe how good this feels, you know.
Yeah.
It was just one of those unique moments, you know. I do a lot of laying out on the ground around my place here, but I haven't made that. But that was just you know, it was kind of like that time warp you're talking about. You know, it's like it just was right, and the
Hmm.
time shifted and I went with it and I was in it and when I was in it, I made some new realizations and it allowed me to participate in that fifth dimensional awakening and man, it was something. It was really awesome. Obviously I've never ever and will never forget that.
Yeah. And and that it's a thing that I've always felt like during magical times, like in a good big circle with a lot of people around, time becomes very, very inconsequential in those times, you know. You feel yourself, you know, moving through phases of being tired and stuff, but you don't see people checking their watch. It doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's a kind of like a hallmark of magic, if you will, in that time shifts are very they become more prevalent. Even today, I was working on my wife, uh, giving her a good big clearing and everything, you know, and I glanced up at my clock, and apparently the battery died, and it must be running very slowly because you know, it said 6 o'clock and should have been like 1:30. And I glanced up there and I went, oh, 6 o'clock. And the first thing I thought was, where did all the time go? Because it's like really not all that unusual for me to look up and go, oh my God, you know, that was 2 hours. I didn't even see that go by. Turns out it was the clock in this case, but I'm so used to this shifting and not, you know, not quite consistently coherent like we're used to, that it doesn't surprise me at all when time shifts anymore. I wish I could
Well,
do it
and
more.
I think that's the key right there to being able to stay consciously awake in the new world is to be able to allow that to occur and not get freaked out by it.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, there's going to be some miracles happening, but you know, don't get freaked out by it. Just take and be appreciative that you've been allowed to be an audience of this particular
Yeah.
occasion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're the universal mind and or God or however you want to phrase it has decided to include you in it at this particular moment. So celebrate it. Don't sit there and go, oh my God, am I losing it? You
Uh-huh.
might you could do that the first couple of times, but you know.
After a while.
After a while, you got to get with the program, man.
Yeah.
you know, because
Go with it.
I assure you, when I was on my first journey and my first expression was, I mean, I remember lay back on my back in the middle of the desert and just looking up at the stars going, oh my God, what is happening?
Hmm. But
And I couldn't leave.
it felt okay though, you know. There's
It did once I allowed myself to participate in it and
right.
realize. In fact, it was a statement that I made just autonomically, and I don't even know why I came up with this, but I looked up at the stars and I yelled, "I deserve this!" And the moment I did that, it all kicked off, man.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it went from being attacked by a skinwalker to a brand new, the whole universe opened up and started dancing with me and celebrating
Hmm.
with me, and I was like, wow, man, this is stuff. I've never felt anything like this. It was phenomenal. And from that point on, I realized that I was a part of something much bigger than I could ever possibly have imagined previously to that. And
Hmm.
therefore, I wanted to continue to be a part of it because it was an amazing experience and something that was so enlightening and so loving and so beautiful that I decided I'm going to keep pursuing this. I don't know if I'll ever get back to this moment or not, but I'm going to keep chasing it, see if I
Yeah.
can.
Me too. Well, okay, sir. I think that it's time for us to sign off. I really appreciate this talk. This has been a good one. I think I'd like to do it again. I'm having a lot of internet problems, so I don't think we should do it tonight. But let's thank everyone and try to remember where we're at because I'd like to kind of continue this discussion in into into the next time we go about this in a couple of days. Um, I
Sure.
love you and I thank you for joining me on this journey and all of these happy times. And I want to tell everybody who might still be listening that we love you too. And it's very exciting for me and I'm sure for Stronghorse as well to be going through a completely new transition of what reality might be looking like in the near future. And I am honored and overjoyed to be doing it with all of you who are listening too. So thank you for being with us. Please check us out on earth-ems.org and come and see us. We'll try and keep you informed and offer up all kinds of extra little benefits to make this into a little bit more of a community. Come and chat with us. We're looking forward to sharing a lot of ideas. Okay?
Peace.
Peace. Bye bye.